name's Caitlin.
And my name is Dalit.
And we're here from CFWEP, the Clark Fork Watershed Education Program.
So we're here today to talk about another watershed health parameter called turbidity. Turbidity is just another word for murky or cloudy. And it's the opposite of clear. It comes to tell you how clear water is.
Whoa, where'd the camera go, Dalit?
What happened? I can't see through anything here.
Me either.
Hey, can someone fix that?
Please?
Oh, sweet.
We're back. So wait, what makes water turbid anyway, Dalit?
Particles make the water turbid, but particles that are big and float in the water. When the mountain is weathered by rain and water over millions of years, they produced boulders and eventually sand and silt and clay. And these particles, they float or stay suspended in the water and affect how clear the water is.
So I get all of this, but if weathering is happening all of the time, why aren't our waters always turbid?
That's where our healthy vegetation comes into place. The vegetation in our riparian habitat is what keeps the sediments in place. And the roots of that vegetation holds the bank in place and not eroded into our river.
Let's take, for example, though, historical mining that was happening up in Butte that's had a really big impact on our Clark Fork watershed. Has that increased turbidity to unhealthy levels?
Yes, exactly, because it killed a lot of the vegetation. And another impact that can affect our watershed is intense fire that the vegetation that we have there is not adapted to and kills not just the plant on top, but also the roots. Let's go ahead and build a simulation with two models to show the difference between riparian habitat with vegetation and one without. So here are the two models that we built. One that simulates a healthy riparian habitat with the soil underneath and then the sod that represents the healthy vegetation. Whereas here we have the same soil but with no vegetation. That vegetation was disturbed either by intense fire that killed all the vegetation or toxic sediments from mining, for example. And now we'll see what happens when it rains on this habitat, on this watershed, and see the impact on our waters.
So here in the model in front of me, you can see that a lot of soil has been removed from the land and made its way into the river. There's a very different amount of sediment in each of the two models.
The additional difference between the two models is not only about the amount of sediment, but also the turbidity of the water. Here, when the soil was removed and started floating in the water, our turbidity is much greater than here when the vegetation actually held the soil down. You can see that there's very different color. Over here, it's much more turbid and dark, not see-through, rather than here you can see that it's lighter color, less turbid. Pretty fascinating, right? How healthy vegetation is the key for low turbidity.
It's super fascinating. And I'm wondering if we could actually go to the Clark Fork River and measure the turbidity to see how it's doing right now.
I think we should do it.
All right.
On three?
On three.
1, 2, 3. It worked!
It actually worked.
That's awesome! Yes! Okay, so where are we, Caitlin?
Yeah, we're actually at the Clark Fork River. Where Dalit and I are standing right now, we're close to Missoula, Montana. Upstream of us is Butte, Montana, where all of that historical unregulated mining happened that actually contaminated this river. And now our state has been working really hard to clean up this 120 river miles to restore it and remedy it back to its natural state. But I'm kind of wondering still what the turbidity is. Do you think we can check it today?
Let's go and grab the equipment, and I also brought the samples from our models so that we can measure them and see what the turbidity, the difference between the two samples were. Oh, wow, look at this. So this is the water from the Clark Fork River during spring runoff. This is from our simulated healthy riparian habitat. So it is even clearer from our naked eye than the simulation of a clear riparian habitat, and clearly much cleaner than a habitat that has no healthy vegetation. So Caitlin, do you know what's the healthy turbidity levels for this part of the river?
Yeah, so right here where we're standing again, 5 NTUs or less is considered healthy.
Okay.
Actually though, upstream, 10 NTUs or less is considered healthy. So it's variable depending on where you are.
In order to actually measure it with a turbidity sensor, we're going to give it 2 known data points, a 0 NTU and a 100 NTU. The 0 NTU means there's nothing floated or suspended in the water, while the 100, as you guys can see the major difference, has a lot of suspended material in it. So now that we entered these 2 data points of 0 and 100 to our turbidity sensor, let's actually measure and collect data from our river and see what the turbidity of the river is.
Let's do it.
Okay, so here's a vial from our river water.
2.5 NTUs.
Wow, so that's actually really low.
That's right in between that healthy range of 0 and 5 NTUs, so that's perfect.
Now, unrelated to this, let's just look at the 2 models that we had. So healthy riparian habitat and one that is disturbed, that has no vegetation in there, and compare these 2 to each other. So here's the healthy riparian habitat simulation that we had.
89.8
Wow,
NTU.
that's really high.
That's way higher.
But now let's compare it to the model that had no vegetation, that the vegetation got destroyed either from mining or from intense fire.
Oh my gosh, 494.7 NTU.
That is like 5 times more than the healthy riparian habitat.
So much more. Wow, what a difference.
So what's the take-home message from this?
Yeah, I think it's that riparian vegetation, healthy riparian vegetation, is vital for keeping turbidity low in our waters to keep them clear.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much.